It's our pleasure to welcome to the show former BYU basketball coach Dave Rose, who will be inducted into the Utah Sports Hall of Fame on Monday, September 18th at the Little America in Salt Lake City. He'll be enshrined along with skiers Stein, Eriksen, and Ted Ligety, fencer Julie Thompson Seal, and sportswriter Tom Wharton, who's had a great influence on me in my writing career. Dave, we welcome you to the Wise Guys from your lair down there in southern Utah. Good evening.
Good evening. How you doing, guys?
Great. Thanks for coming on with us. Hey, this Hall of Fame thing, Dave and I are excited. You know that we're your biggest fans, right? So well deserved. How did you find out that you were going into the Hall of Fame?
Well, probably around 3 or 4 months ago, Joel Gardner just called me out of the blue. I hadn't heard from Joel for years, and we were just talking, and then he said, "Well, Dave, the reason I'm calling is because you've been selected been chosen to go into the Utah Sports Hall of Fame." And so that's how it came down. We chatted for a while, and since then I've talked to Joel quite a few times, but I'm really excited. I think that it's obviously a great honor, and one that not only just for me, but for so many people that helped me through the years, especially my time at BYU. I started at Millard High School here in Utah, and then went to Dixie College down in St. George, and then ended up being at BYU. So my path was pretty well documented here in the state of Utah, that's for sure.
Well, you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. We think it's cool, and
well, thanks.
You've done so much, accomplished so many things, and you mentioned, let's stick with the theme for a moment. There's so many people who helped you along the way, none more than your wife Cheryl. It's not easy being a head coach's wife, and so she too gets to go in the Hall of Fame with you. What has that relationship meant to you over all these years?
Well, I think that we ended up we met at when I was at Dixie in St. George back in 1979. It was a long time ago, and we ended up getting married in June of 1980. And so she was not only with me as a player for a few years at the University of Houston, but we were also together, through we just celebrated our 43rd wedding anniversary. So we've been together a while and been through a lot together, and this is one of the good things. So we're excited about it.
When you think back, as I was just listening to you say, started at Millard High, and then we were down at Dixie, and then at BYU, and you think back to the beginning of that. And now we take a look back at your coaching career, and it really is remarkable, the success at every level, the wins, the influence you've had on so many players and so many people. Could you ever have imagined at that start that it was going to lead to this phenomenal career and all of this great accomplishment?
If you think about just the first year or two coaching at Millard High School, I mean, the reason I actually took the job at Millard, we just graduated from the University of Houston, just come off a great season, with our team there, and we played for the national championship and ended up getting beat in the championship game. And of all the places I thought that I would end up, the last place I thought would be I'd end up at a small high school in the state of Utah. But that was the only head coaching job that was offered to me at the time. I had a lot of different chances to go be somebody's assistant or go help or, be on a staff somewhere. But I didn't really know for sure if I wanted to be a coach. I thought I did. I thought it would be a pretty cool thing. But so the reason I ended up taking that job was so I could jump right in and just see what it was like, and if it was something that I really was passionate about and something that I really enjoyed doing, And it didn't take long until I figured that this was pretty fun and a good way for me to make a living without really having to go to work.
Former BYU basketball coach Dave Rose is on the Wise Guys live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. Bring in your questions on our live stream from all over the world tonight. And a lot of folks asking about your health since retiring from BYU. There's been such a challenge with a major heart attack and a stroke and cancer treatments. And I know you're feeling better, kind of on a good run these last 18 months. Give us an update on how you feel.
Yeah, that's been something that's been quite unexpected for us. I coached for 10 or so years, being diagnosed with cancer, and it's an uncurable type of cancer, something that I'm actually really fortunate because pancreatic cancer is one of the deadliest cancers around, and I was fortunate to get a form of pancreatic cancer that was manageable, but it just was not curable. And so I've been dealing with it, for those years. And while I was coaching, I had treatments and I had, surgeries and a lot of different things. And that was a whole nother process. And my coaches were so good with helping me to manage that and still being able to coach our team. But it was my wife is the one that I feel bad for, because when I retired, I just thought that we would have a lot of time to where we could do all the things that we wanted to do, and we thought we could. And 4 months later, I ended up having a heart attack, and then a year later had a stroke. And then because of those things, the actual maintenance of the cancer and trying to control it got put on a different schedule. And so the cancer returned, and I ended up having a major surgery, like you said, a year and a half ago, in January. And that's been a tough one. That's been hard to kind of recover from. But we moved here to St. George and finally got in our home, and things are a lot better. I still get up there to Huntsman every 3 months, and we're back on a routine, and hopefully we can stay on that routine for quite a while, and we can enjoy the time here.
We people ask us about you, and we got to be really close for over all those years. You were very patient with us. We were saying before you came on that on shoot-around days, we just have it was like we were psychologists for each other. You were talking us off a ledge. We were talking you off a ledge. We weren't even talking about basketball. We'd get to basketball at some point, but we were close to you, and people would ask us, and we would just say, just know Dave's one of the toughest people we know, period, because we knew what you were going through. Those health challenges, it's challenging enough to be a Division I college basketball coach with all the pressure that comes with that, and then you had to deal with all of that. What did those challenges teach you about yourself over all that time?
Well, I'll tell you what, it taught me to really trust and rely on other people to help you through difficult times. And my my assistant coaches, the guys that I had, my staff, the staff that was there at BYU, and we're talking, a lot of people, from, your sports information people to your travel people to, your medical staff. I mean, all those people were working so hard for the players, and but in return, it was that they're working for us, for me, to try to make this happen. And I can't ever give enough credit to my assistant coaches. I mean, they were terrific. They weren't like assistant coaches. I mean, they were like my best friends. Yeah. And they were guys who not only, took care of a lot of basketball responsibility, but they became, lifelong friends that, basically took care of me, took care of my kids, took care of a lot of things while we, faced the challenges that we had.
I interviewed all your assistants, I think all of them, for an article that's coming out in the Deseret News later this week. And I think what was interesting in the underlying theme in everything, even from Jimmer and some of the guys, when talking about you, it all comes back to you loved your guys, your players and your staff, and they all knew it, which I think is a tremendous compliment. Because a lot of times we don't like to show those kind of things. You know, we got to be big and tough and all this stuff. And you went through all that you just described, but your players and your staff knew you loved them, and that's a tremendous compliment. I'm not sure if there can be a better one.
Well, to me, that was the funnest part. I mean, I felt like I had an entire career of just great players, great guys, but just being able to kind of wake up every day and not really have a job. I woke up every day and kind of had a hobby. And those guys, the one thing I think that we always had is we had guys who loved the game, and not only from our coaching staff, but to our players, to the players' wives, to the the support staff that we had. And there's so many people that were so important. But Terry Nashif and Tim Lacombe were, two of my best friends during that time and still are today. So, I got a great relationship with Dave Rice, and I mean, it's just amazing to me.
Heath Schroyer says hello, by the way.
Heath Schroyer, the friendships, and I had a chance to coach together with Heath when we were on Steve Cleveland's staff years ago, and then Heath came and worked for us for a year, and then he ended up taking a job at McNeese State. Now he's the AD at McNeese State. But we've had and Quincy Lewis. I mean, Quincy was on my staff for a few years, but I felt like Quincy was on my staff the entire time because I was always getting his players. And his players were always really good for me. The kids that came out of Lone Peak High School, and how successful they were for us there for quite a while. So I was very, very fortunate. I ended up with Lee Camard on my staff at the end there, and Lee not only played for us, but he was terrific graduate assistant for years, and then became on my staff. So I mean, they all have a history, and they all provided quite a benefit to me personally, but also to BYU, because they did a lot of work, and no one will ever. I mean, that's the sad part, is that the head coach gets the blame and gets the credit, but really it's the credit goes to so much to the people that help you, and not only, like I said, not only from your immediate staff, but from your support staff. I mean, those guys it made going to work every day really fun for me.
As a player, Dave, you reached the national championship game. You're captain on that Houston Cougars team. As a coach, you won 348 basketball games. That is remarkable. Which was more fun, playing or coaching? Which was the most fun?
Well, I think I'll always say that playing the game was so fun for me, but to be able to make a career out of a sport, like I say, I feel like a lot of those days when you didn't win, or when the season ended on a loss and you didn't win the championship at the end like you wanted to, those were hard times to get through. But when you consider the amount of teams that I coached and the schools that I was at, and the guys I got to be around, I feel like I was really fortunate, because I kind of made it through life without having to work, and I got to play all the time.
Listen, you've said that 3 times, and we know that being a head coach is nothing but
work.
Yeah, but I will tell you this: it's interesting to watch. Friends of mine, and even my kids, and watch their lives and their jobs and what they do. And Their life was much harder than mine. That's for sure.
Dave, we're the ones that have the easy job, Dave and I, McCann, because we don't have any responsibility to win. We always say our broadcast is undefeated. We've never lost a broadcast we've ever done. That's the easy job,
undefeated.
right?
You don't experience the winning and losing, personally, but I'm sure you'll both agree it's way funner to cover a winning team than it is to cover a team.
Well, yeah, you're a lot more pleasant when you're winning.
Absolutely,
we got to interview
no
anyway.
doubt about it. So,
former basketball coach at BYU, Dave Rose, and soon to be Hall of Famer on the Wise Guys. Coach Rose had 6 consecutive seasons of 25 wins or more. So, as you mentioned, you came to BYU with Steve Cleveland. And just a few more questions for you tonight. We're so glad to have you on the show. You guys take over after a 1-25 season. So what are you the most proud of in the turnaround? I mean, there were games and there were moments and this and that, but as you look back, first of all, no coach in BYU history ever inherited a 1-25 the year before, and that's what you guys got. And Steve Cleveland in the paper coming up will tell his story of how you and he came to be. But what are you most proud of in the turnaround?
I think again, it comes back to my relationship with Steve. I mean, we spent an 8-year period there where we were best friends.
Yeah.
There wasn't anybody who he relied on or I relied on anymore, than each other. And it was, really kind of a special time. Neither one of us had really experienced the challenge that we were in for as far as trying to rebuild the team and get the team back to championship caliber team, and that was something that the both of us will always remember as one of our greatest accomplishments. Just being able to take a team that was really challenged and in a very difficult spot, and a few years later, being able to win the Mountain West Championship. Those were unbelievable days and fun times. And Steve's been a dear friend for years. And I never expected him to leave and to take that, he ended up taking the Fresno State job. But when he did leave, I was really fortunate that President Samuelson, thought that I can handle it. And I had an opportunity. And of all the things that happened to me in my career, I would think I could say this pretty safe, that when I went to BYU as an assistant coach, the fact that I became the head coach at BYU is probably the most surprising of anything. I really felt that my opportunity would be somewhere else if I ever got it, but I was pretty surprised when it turned out the way it did.
Well, turn that opportunity into great things. I think back through the years, and people ask me, they ask Dave, what's the most fun you've ever had broadcasting? And I always go back to, well, those couple of years when Jimmer was going nuts were pretty fun to broadcast, when I was doing the games where you guys played San Diego State. So you're coaching through Jimmer Mania. Did you ever allow yourself to just sit back and just watch him do his thing? Was there a time during that when you could just step away from worrying about being the coach and just enjoy that moment of Jimmer Mania?
I think that I enjoyed most of it because my guys were my coaches were doing all the hard work, and I was kind of getting all the credit for Jimmer, being Jimmer. And in reality, it was Jimmer and Jackson and Noah Hartsock and the guys that were making it work. But Jimmer was obviously, and still is, a special player. And I was really, really fortunate that he chose BYU, and when he came to BYU, just really blossomed and become one of the all-time greats. I mean, I think that when Jimmer broke Danny Ainge's scoring record, I just thought, my goodness, that record has stood for so long, and I don't know if it'll ever be broken. And then Tyler Hawes comes a few years later, and he breaks the scoring record. And I think that those years with Jimmer, I think Jackson made us such a good defensive team. We were really good on both sides of the ball. I think Tyler's teams were some of the best offensive teams in the country at the time, and I think that those were fun ways to coach and fun ways to play. And I just wish we could have won a few more games at the end of the year each year.
So so you're on the sideline and the game's going back and forth and the place is full and Jimmer's doing his stuff and he steps over half court and puts up a shot. Did you ever just think, what in the world what are you thinking shooting from right there? Or was it just like shots going up and it's probably going in? What was your perspective?
It's funny that I've been asked that quite a few times, and I can honestly tell you what I was thinking is that just make it, okay? because if you make it, then I don't look silly, and you're going to be fine because he's going to end at the end of the game. You're going to end up with his 25, his 30, his 40 points. But I'm going to look really silly if all the long ones you shoot, you miss. So make a few of those long ones, and they'll make me look better.
There was that tournament game against Gonzaga.
I was thinking the New Mexico one.
Yeah, for when he broke the scoring record. In Gonzaga, when you blew him out the year before they joined the WCC, he took a shot. CBS put out a clip during the tournament. You're standing where a coach stands shouting, and he comes down. He's right next to you, and he, without hesitation, he launches a shot, buries it. The place goes nuts, and you look like a genius.
He was a confident shooter, and to say the least. And we went through a lot together, and I think I've told this story to you guys before. But we had some really tough challenges that year, and when Brandon Davies was suspended and didn't play the last couple games, I had Jimmer and Jackson in my office, and going through the process of what I was going to have to do and go down and address the team. And I just wanted them to know where we were and what was happening. And so the conversation in the office is over, and Jackson gets up and leaves, and Jimmer gets up, and then Jimmer comes back and puts his head through the door, and he says, "Coach, listen, okay, I know we're going to lose Brandon. We're going to really miss him, but you figure out Brandon averaged 12 and 9. You figure out how to get the 9 rebounds. I'll get the 12 points."
It's like a scene out of Hoosiers, a movie. They make movies out of that kind of stuff.
It's just crazy. But, he ended up with he had quite a run then, too. I mean, we ended up getting beat by Florida in the Sweet 16 in overtime and down in New Orleans. And, that comes to my mind quite a bit because that was as close as we got and a pretty good chance to get to the Elite Eight, and we would have played a Butler team that had upset number one Pittsburgh at the time, and but that wasn't to be, and so I guess, as they say, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
Jimmer told me the other day that you were the best coach that he has ever played for, and he's been playing all over the place. So you got that going.
Well, that's really kind of him, and I think that I know that our relationship has always been really, really good. I think I challenged him. He challenged me. His dad, Al, was terrific in the recruiting process. His mom was a little more difficult because she didn't, I don't know if she at first wanted him to go all the way, from Glens Falls, New York to Provo, Utah.
Yeah.
But over the years, we've developed a great relationship with the Fredette family. And I'm just so happy for Jimmer and just how he's grown as a person, and he's got a beautiful family and a wonderful place there in Denver. And, now he's making an Olympic bid.
Jimmer Mania is going to go international.
Could come back again in 3-on-3, right?
It's unbelievable. And if you watch some of those games, I mean, that game is suited perfect for him because he can get that pretty quick and get it off, and scores a lot of points for that 3-on-3 team.
He's going to bring a gold medal back.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be great. Jimmer Mania all over again. Hey, we want to ask you a little bit about the Big 12. Kind of interesting because your alma mater and BYU are now in the same league in basketball, which is who'd ever thunk that, right? And so BYU this season ahead, Big 12 that's the real deal. How do you see BYU coming in first in this first season? Then how do they get to the point where they can compete in that league on a regular basis?
Well, that's going to be interesting. I'm excited for them. I think that the challenge is tremendous. The change in in Division I basketball now with NIL and the players being able to be paid and make money, I think is going to be really a huge adjustment. And when you talk about it's a kind of a double whammy. You got the adjustment of that and being able to pay your players and trying to increase the talent level of your teams to compete in one of the best basketball conferences in the country. I mean, they've got their hands full right now, and I really, both those guys, Cody and Mark, both work for me, and they're two of the best coaches around. And I know if anybody is up for the challenge, it's those guys, and then I have all the confidence in the world that they'll get it done. But it'll be very interesting to watch how it happens.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we have 5 quick questions for you, and we'll let you get on with your night, and then we'll see you up here next week for the Hall of Fame induction ceremony on Monday night here in Salt Lake City. 5 questions. We hit up everybody for these, and there's no prep, so this is just straight
first
Dave
thing
Rose.
that comes to the top of your head, so everybody gets to know you. And we always start with this. Your favorite sports movie?
Hoosiers.
I'm not surprised by that one.
Hey, Marie Osmond.
That's Marie's favorite.
That's her favorite,
she
too.
She said that. Of course, she's married to Steve, so of course she had to say that. But
Hoosiers is a classic.
yeah.
The one thing about Hoosiers that makes it one of my favorite movies is the fact that the coach was a crusty old guy, and a lot of people didn't really agree with him, but he figured out a way to get those guys to win, and the whole reason they won was because the player came back and played.
Yes, right.
The player would have just stayed on the sidelines and not been there, and that's to me is how these games are won and lost. The players are the guys who get it done. That's for sure.
Amen.
What was Dan when we had Danny Ainge on? What was Danny's? Was Danny's Hoosier too?
It could have been.
Too? Might have been.
Yeah.
So your favorite singer or band?
Whoa. Over the years, I'm a music guy. I've been to a lot of concerts, and I would say the Eagles is probably my favorite group, but Journey over the years is the funnest for me because Cheryl and I have been to quite a few Journey concerts, and since Arnell came back, since they got Arnell, it's been a whole new run for a bunch of old guys. Fun time. So that would be one of my.
They were awesome at Stadium
Eagles
of Fire.
and Journey. Those are like 2 absolute classics. I love that. Those are 2 of my favorites as well. Dave likes AC/DC. I don't know what he's thinking. He's a hard rock guy.
I got a big palate for the music.
But he's a hard rock guy. But he's a Vegas guy. In Vegas, you got to do everything hard.
You got to do it hard. But he does like the Eagles and Journey. So, okay, your favorite breakfast cereal.
By the way, Les from Santa Fe is predicting that you're going to say Lucky Charms. So.
Yeah, it's 6-1 that you're saying Lucky Charms, but we don't want to influence you. You got to speak from your heart.
My favorite breakfast cereal, sugar frosted flakes, Kellogg's. It would have to be over the course of my life.
Yeah.
But probably lately, the last 10 years, it would have to be. My goodness, I can't even remember what. Like honey
bunches of oats or honey bunches of oats. That's a popular one.
I had Frosted Flakes this morning. Hey, the Frosted Flakes never went out of style.
Yeah. Oh, never.
No.
You can't go wrong.
So I have Frosted Flakes in the cupboard at all times.
Yeah, you have to.
Danny told us. Ainge.
He went shredded wheat.
He was shredded wheat, and we're like, please tell us the kind that has the sugar on it, right? And he's like, no, straight, fresh, straight. And we're like, Michelle's making you eat that crap because of your heart stuff, right? And he's like, and he admitted. So, okay, your favorite. Do you have a favorite victory of all time as a player, as a coach? Favorite win?
You know, that's probably as a player when we beat Louisville in the semifinals of the championship in Albuquerque, in the pit, and as a coach, my goodness, that's tough. Those years with Jimmer, that the home games are so fun to win, and when we beat San Diego State at home was so good, but beating them on the road that year, the road games. When you beat a team on the road, but I don't know if anything beats the time we beat when we beat Gonzaga at Gonzaga, and they had already announced that they were 30-0, and they ended up 29-1. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was in the newspaper. Like the newspaper had pre-printed it. Yeah, that was pretty special.
And he beat them a few times up there. They didn't want to see anymore.
Those are all. Every one of those that you just mentioned are great memories. San Diego State at home, on the road, the Zags on the road. Those are all great memories for all of us, right? So pretty cool. Okay, this one's the most important one. Your favorite advice ever from Cheryl, your wife?
Oh, go fight, win. She told me that before every game.
That's what she said before every game. Go fight, win.
That's a coach's wife right there.
There you go.
Win.
She's the best. She's been so good to us over the years. We
I
love
can
Cheryl.
tell you this: that I did go, and we did win quite a few. I'm glad I didn't fight a lot. You know, and you think about that as announcers, it probably doesn't cross your mind much, but as a coach, there's a lot of times when things got really, really hot, and you would kind of worry about your team getting in a fight. You know, you talk about bad things happening when bench is clear, and I was fortunate that my teams never got involved.
Hey, listen, when Hoffa's temperature went up, anything was possible.
It was always at risk.
JT was he was mostly people were mad at him. You know, Hoffa was mad at other people, but JT, everybody would get mad at him, and we had some really fun, interesting times together, especially on the road.
So let's finish with this one because folks have been asking on the live stream, and I actually tweeted it out last week called "No Jacket Required." Coach Rose is coming to Wise Guys. So you know what I'm talking about. The fastest jacket removal of all time took place in Vegas. I believe it was at the conference tournament, and you were either about to get teed up or you just got teed up. But I don't even think you could recreate how fast you got that jacket off and thrown down on the bench. That was like an Olympic feat. How'd you do that?
It was quite a proud moment with my children. You know, my youngest daughter, Taylor, especially. She thought that was a pretty good accomplishment for me.
You know, look.
She said I didn't really understand anything about, you know, social media or what it meant to be trending or whatever. But when she, you know, said, "Dad, you were trending on whatever," and I said, "For what?" She said, "Well, it just means that so many people were excited about you throwing your coat off." And I said, "Well, I really wish we would have won the game. I'd be way more excited about that than flipping my coat off." You know,
listen, we've all come home from church. Those jackets don't come off that fast. I still don't understand how it happened.
Yeah, impossible, but he did it.
Hey, I was mad. I will tell you that. I was mad.
I think I know the official you were mad at. If I remember.
Dave, I won't say this out loud, but there's still games that I do, and I go in, I'll watch the officials walk in, and I'll go, "Oh, Dave hates that guy right there. That's his least favorite official. He does not like that guy." I still say that.
Over the 4 years that I've been going to the BYU games, basketball games, and not coaching, and I've been sitting there, you know, kind of in those courtside seats over there, and I see those, you know, those referees come in, and a lot of those guys will see me and come over and say hello on the way out. That is the last person I want to see is one of those referees coming over and trying to act like they're my friends. They weren't my friends. Those were the guys who they were in charge of making my life a little more miserable than it actually needed to be. So
listen, you're in the Hall of Fame, and they're not.
I do respect what they do, and I do enjoy the relationships that I have with these guys. But my goodness, we had quite a run during those years trying to figure out how to handle those refs.
We'd be at shoot around. We'd be talking to you, and somebody would bring us the game sheet, and we'd look at the officials, and you'd look at him, and you'd go, "Oh, brother, no, not this, not this guy." Like we'd never say names. We'd never do it on the air, but we go, and we'd agree. We'd go, "Oh, Dave, not that." Like, "Oh, brother, this is going to not be good."
Hey,
the one thing that I know and I can say now is that they all tried their hardest. I mean, they weren't trying to be what I would consider maybe not at the top of their game, but and for that effort, I give them all a lot of credit.
There you go.
Spoken like a man who's going into the Hall of Fame.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, enjoy the ceremony Monday night. Thanks for being with us tonight, and a heartfelt congratulations from both of us and Cougar Nation on a great achievement. There's a lot of great athletes that have been involved in the state of Utah over the years, and you're one of them, and you belong in the Hall, and congratulations.
Well, thanks, guys. I really enjoyed our time together. I miss those, as crazy as it sounds, when I was going through it, the last thing I wanted to do before a game was sit down and talk with you guys. But, after you don't do it for a while, you kind of miss it because we did it so many times.
Yeah.
Yes,
hundreds
and hundreds of times we got together.
Hundreds of times.
And I got over asking you a question and getting that look of that's the dumbest question I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Look,
we never took it personal.
I don't think I ever.
No.
Coach, give our best to Cheryl and your family, and again, have a great time Monday night. You deserve it.
Sending you and the family all our love for sure.
Okay, thank you so much, guys, and thanks for following a lot of those games and most of my career. I appreciate it.
You got it. Our pleasure. And we'll have you back during the season as we break down this year one in the Big 12.
All right, that'll be fun.
Dave Rose heading to the Hall of Fame, and on the Wise Guys tonight, live from St. George, Utah, and that induction ceremony Monday night in Salt Lake City. And you can read more about his achievements and how inspiration helped bring him to Provo in my articles this week coming up at Deseret.com. But